So this is a bit of a follow-up video to a video that I saw, and I'll just quickly recreate that for you. So a guy has 50 quid to start with. He spends 20 quid of it, meaning that in his remaining balance he has 30 quid. And then he spends 15 quid of that, leaving him 15 quid in his balance. And then 9 of that, leaving him 6 quid in his balance. And then he spends the final 6 quid, leaving him with nothing. And so, adding this up, we've got 35, 9 plus 6 is 15, 35 plus 15 is 50. And so, of course, the amount of money that we spend is equal to the total amount that we started with. Whereas with the balance, adding this up, well, we've got 30 plus 15 is 45, plus 6, that's 51. And so he then asks, well, what's happened here? The trick here is that the balance doesn't need to add up to the amount that you spend. They don't have that kind of relationship. And you can see that quite clearly if I were to just spend £10 each time. So here's my first 10 expense, and then I'm going to be left with 40. Another 10 expense, I'm left with 30. You see how this is already greater than 50. If I keep going, then I've got 20. If I keep going, then I've got another 10. And to drain the account, I've got the final 10. So this must be still 50, because that's the name of the game, that's all the money we've got. Whereas over here we've got, well, 40. 40 plus 10 is 50, 30 plus 20 is 50, that's 100. And so these do not need to be equal. But there is a relationship between the amount of money you can spend and how big this number can be. And so what is that relationship? Well, what if I were to spend £1 each time? Then my balance would be £49. And then when I spend the next pound, it's going to be 48. And so on. And this expenditures, as always, must be 50. But this balance, what is that going to be? So there's actually a formula for this, which can come in very handy in various situations like this, when you have to add up numbers from a particular number, which I'll call n, down to 1, which is exactly what this sum is. And that formula is n times n plus 1 divided by 2. That's quite a nifty formula, and it has a very nice derivation, but I won't go into it right now. And it turns out that that allows you to see that this sum here is 1,225 quid. So that's quite expensive. That's quite impressive. We went from a deviation of £1 to a deviation of over £1,000, but we can do better than that. So what's the smallest amount we could spend each time? Well, we could spend a single penny. And so if I spend a penny, then what's in my balance? £49.99. If I spend another penny, I'll go down by another penny, and I can keep going. And you can see that, well, this total is going to be roughly 100 times bigger than the previous total, right? Because for each pound where we had a previous entry, we now have 100 entries which look pretty similar. But in a very similar way, we can figure out what this total is, and it turns out that this total is £124,975. Well, there you go.